not going to comment on any of this stuff until this took place. Watch what she says. The entire internet has reacted to this. Here's Brittney Griner. They're playing against the Indiana Fever, and look what she's saying. Go ahead, Rob.
For the ticky-tack fouls that we were talking about earlier today.
Well, that pretty much sounds like trash. If you want fans, if you want your league to grow, act like a professional, okay? The league already started underwater, and instead of fixing it, they're just poking more holes in the boat. And think about it, Brittney Griner talking all that trash. We traded the merchant of death for your ass, and you're out there talking
Patrick Bet-David's co-host Vincent Oshana just went off on Brittney Griner for her controversial comments about Caitlin Clark, and the clip is blowing up online. PBD's team didn't hold back at all, calling out Griner's actions as disgraceful and highlighting the WNBA's glaring double standards. This takedown captured what so many people have been thinking but haven't dared to say out loud. It even sparked fresh debate about whether it was worth trading the merchant of death for someone now making racially charged remarks about America's most popular basketball player.
If you want fans, if you want your league to grow, act like a professional, okay? The league already started underwater, and instead of fixing it, they're just poking more holes in the boat. And think about it, Brittney Griner talking all that trash. We traded the merchant of death for your ass, and you're out there talking
Vincent Oshana from the Patrick Bet-David podcast just delivered the kind of verbal takedown Brittney Griner had coming for a while. And honestly, it's long overdue. Finally, someone with a platform had the guts to say what millions of Americans have been thinking. The PBD crew didn't hold back when they tackled Griner's racially charged remarks aimed at Caitlin Clark, and their response was the dose of reality this entire situation needed. Let's break down what really happened here, because this goes way beyond a single moment. This is about the deep-rooted moral collapse inside the WNBA, a league that's fostered such a toxic culture, it now seems normal to tear down their own brightest star. It all started when Griner, after fouling out in a game against Clark's Indiana Fever, was caught on camera calling Clark trash and throwing in a racially loaded white girl jab.
For the ticky-tack fouls that we were talking about earlier today.
Now let's be absolutely clear. If Caitlin Clark had said anything even close to what Brittney Griner said, but directed at a black player, her career would be over in a heartbeat. We're talking suspensions, fines, mandatory sensitivity training, and a parade of public apologies just to survive the fallout. But when Griner throws racially charged insults at Clark, total silence from the WNBA, not a word from the league office. The double standard isn't just obvious, it's downright insulting to anyone with a shred of common sense.
With Brittney Griner, right? And then the other quote, Rob, then I'm going to wrap this up and then I'm going to go to Adam. Put the quote of Brittney Griner, what she said about the NBA. This is so funny how all this stuff works out, right? She says, this is from Brittney. Every time we play her, there's this commotion, like this loud rumbling from the stands. Turns out it's people, thousands of them, just sitting there, watching on purpose.
This is where Vincent Oshana stepped in and said what needed to be said. During the podcast discussion, Oshana completely exposed Griner's hypocrisy and ripped into the WNBA's twisted priorities. He highlighted just how insane the whole situation is. A player who was literally traded for a notorious Russian arms dealer, the Merchant of Death, is now out here making racially charged remarks about the one player actually bringing attention and relevance to their fading league. It's a level of irony that's hard to ignore.
Brittney Griner voiced frustration in a recent interview, claiming that Caitlin Clark is ruining what used to make the WNBA great. Wait for this.
Empty stands?
Tom, let me just...
Go ahead, I'm so mad.
WNBA games used to be a chill, quiet place. You could bring your laptop and relax, maybe even get a little work done. But now, it's like there's a large gathering of people watching us from the stands. Some of them are yelling crazy shit about what they're seeing, putting unfair pressure on us to score like we're...
Oshana's takedown was surgical in its precision. He called out how Griner and players like Angel Reese carry themselves with this attitude that the league somehow owes them. Despite being millionaires living out a dream most people can only imagine, the level of entitlement is mind-blowing. These athletes are getting paid well to play the sport they love, yet they act like victims simply because the most talented and marketable player in their league right now happens to be white. It's a narrative built on resentment, not reality.
Are you
I act like this is
Okay.
Rob, can you
joking.
verify that this is what she said on the mom and pop WNBA model? That she's sick of the and then she says, the whole thing is toxic. I saw a guy with his daughter in the crowd, both of them yelling, couldn't hear what they were saying exactly, but
The Patrick Bet-David team also brought up something the mainstream media won't dare touch: Caitlin Clark's failed strategy of trying to appease her critics. Remember when she made those awkward comments about white privilege and how she needed to help elevate black women? Oshana and the PBD crew didn't let that slide. They called it out as the exact moment they lost all respect for Clark. And honestly, they were spot on. Trying to bend the knee only made her a bigger target, and it did nothing to stop the hostility aimed her way.
The WNBA is never, ever, ever going to work and never make money. And this is exactly what Caitlin Clark gets for bending the knee. You guys remember when she said, when we lost all respect for her, when she said, I want to say I've earned every single thing, but as a white person, there is privilege. And the more we can elevate black women, this is going to be a beautiful thing. That's when it was all over. And Angel Reese and Brittney Griner, they walk around like the league owes them something. Even Ryan Clark's attitude as if, bro, where's the victimhood? These are freaking millionaires. Like, what are you talking about? It's attitude, it's no humility, just entitlement, and that's not confidence.
Clark tried to play the politically correct game, thinking that if she just acknowledged her so-called privilege and said all the right things, she'd be embraced by her peers. But instead, it backfired. It made her look weak and handed her critics even more ammunition. Players like Griner and Reese saw that vulnerability and went straight for it, treating Clark's humility not as a gesture of unity, but as an admission of guilt. The PBD team's analysis nailed it. This is exactly why the WNBA remains a financial mess, even with the most marketable player in women's basketball history. Instead of protecting and building around their biggest star, they've created a culture where tearing her down is practically a requirement to fit in with the veterans. And Oshana's point about the merchant of death trade was especially brutal, because it's true. The US government gave up one of the world's most dangerous arms dealers to bring Griner home from a Russian prison where she was locked up on drug charges. And this is how she repays that? By hurling racist insults at the one player who's actually saving the league from collapse. It's not just absurd, it's disgraceful. The timing of these comments makes them even more outrageous. Caitlin Clark is currently sidelined with an injury and expected to miss 2 weeks, just as WNBA viewership is likely to nosedive. The league is about to get a brutal reminder of how heavily it relies on Clark's star power. Yet instead of showing any appreciation for what she brings to the game, players like Brittney Griner are actively pushing her away. The Patrick Bet-David team also called out the WNBA's blatant hypocrisy when it comes to outrage and accountability. The league launched an immediate investigation into alleged racist comments made by fans toward Angel Reese, remarks that no one actually heard and may not have even happened.
Brittney Griner cusses Caitlin Clark, uses profanity, is jealous of play, attacks Caitlin Clark. And let me explain what's happening. You are seeing a lot of very, very racist women, right? These are racist women who were taught that they were God's gift to women's basketball, that they are black, and because of that, they are better than white people at sport. That's the one area that they can succeed over white people in sports, right? And this is their league, right? Then you got a young, the stereotypical white girl, pretty, skinny, is better than it comes into the sport and becomes the Michael Jordan, LeBron James of the sport. The face gets more publicity on one than they've ever got in some of their any of their games ever. Brings more money. They are extremely jealous and won't say it. They want to make it like it's typical basketball. But no, they have made it very clear. Angel Reese, the Brittney Griners, that nobody cared about their league before she came, and that hurts them.
But when there's clear video evidence of Griner making racially charged comments toward Clark, complete silence. The message couldn't be more obvious. Racism is only condemned when it fits a certain narrative. And this isn't an isolated case. Throughout Clark's short career, she's been relentlessly targeted, physically and verbally, by opponents. From getting her eye poked by Dijonai Carrington to being the subject of dirty plays and constant media attacks, she's endured far more than any rookie should. Yet when she or her coach raise legitimate concerns about officiating or treatment, they're told to be quiet and take it. The PBD crew nailed it. This league is sabotaging itself. You simply can't build a successful entertainment product when your most established players resent and tear down the one person who's drawing in fans and keeping the lights on. That's not social justice, that's business suicide. Vincent Oshana's point about attitude and entitlement hit especially hard. Successful leagues understand that their job is to entertain, build stars, and create storylines that excite fans.
Okay, and the reason why she's facing backlash is because it really shows the hypocrisy of the WNBA, okay? Because WNBA had opened up an investigation into the alleged racial slurs that have been levied against Angel Reese and other black players when they play Caitlin Clark, right? When they play at Indiana, they say, well, the fans are racist, right? And the WNBA thought it'd be a good idea to investigate these racist comments, right, from fans. But yet you have these allegations from fans that, hey, Brittney Griner, right, went on a racial rant against Caitlin Clark. Now, again, did she really say that to Caitlin Clark? Personally, I really don't know, okay? I mean, to me, it certainly looks like she said effing white girl.
The WNBA, meanwhile, seems more interested in preaching politics than delivering a high-level product. That's not confidence, it's arrogance without the performance to justify it. Their comparison to other leagues was spot on. In the NBA, stars like LeBron James and Steph Curry might have rivalries, but they understand that each other's success grows the entire league. They don't spend their time tearing each other down. But in the WNBA, success is seen as a zero-sum game. If Clark wins, someone else must be losing, and that mindset is killing the league from within. Instead of figuring out how to ride the wave Clark has created, too many players would rather sabotage it. And now, as ticket prices drop and ratings are expected to fall during Clark's absence, the PBD team's prediction is already being proven right and is impossible to ignore. The WNBA is about to learn a hard truth. Without Caitlin Clark, their relevance, viewership, and revenue collapse. And that makes Griner's comments even more outrageous. She's been in the league for over a decade and has done virtually nothing to elevate women's basketball. The arenas were half empty, ratings stagnant, and the league was bleeding money until Clark arrived. Yet somehow, Griner feels entitled to tear down the one player who actually changed that trajectory. The Patrick Bet-David team didn't just break down a sports controversy, they laid bare a broader cultural crisis. We're living in a time where the person being racially attacked is expected to take it with grace, while the attacker gets a free pass because of identity politics. It's a complete moral reversal. Vincent Oshana was one of the few with the courage to say what needed to be said, calling Griner's comments exactly what they were: disgusting. Too many are afraid to call out obvious racism if it comes from the wrong group. But racism is racism, period, regardless of who it's coming from or who it's aimed at. And the implications here go far beyond basketball. This is what happens when identity becomes more important than character or merit. Instead of celebrating Clark's excellence and massive contributions to the sport, the conversation becomes about grievance and race. Clark's only crime is being successful while white, something the PBD team rightly exposed as the root of the backlash against her. They also made a crucial point about Clark's mistake in trying to appease her critics. Her politically correct gestures, her talk about privilege, they didn't earn her respect. They marked her as weak, made her a bigger target. You can't reason with people who resent your very existence and success. The WNBA has allowed this resentment to fester unchecked, and the economic reality about to hit them as Clark sits out will show exactly how costly that failure has been. What Patrick Bet-David's team highlighted is undeniable. The WNBA loses tens of millions every year and has never turned a profit. Now, they finally have a player who can actually drive revenue and interest, Caitlin Clark, but instead of protecting that investment, they allow her to be attacked and marginalized. This is business malpractice on a scale that would get executives fired in any other industry. Vincent Oshana's observation about players like Brittney Griner and Angel Reese acting like the league owes them something was especially sharp. They seem to think success and attention are guaranteed simply by existing, not earned through performance and marketability. That's not how professional sports, or any successful business, operates. The timing of Griner's racist outburst couldn't have been worse. Just as Clark was gaining momentum in her second season and bringing unprecedented attention to the league, a veteran player decides to attack her with racial slurs. It almost feels like the league is sabotaging its own success. What's even more telling is the WNBA's complete lack of leadership. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert has stayed notably silent about Griner's comments, even while quickly launching investigations into unsubstantiated claims about fan behavior. Their priorities are completely backwards. They're more focused on protecting narratives than their most valuable player. The Patrick Bet-David team exposed the core contradiction in the WNBA's approach. They want to cash in on Caitlin Clark's popularity and marketability, but don't actually want to protect or support her. They want the revenue and attention she brings, yet they insist on maintaining the victim narrative that's central to the league's identity. Vincent Oshana's comparison between Brittney Griner's stagnant career and Clark's explosive impact was brutal but accurate. Griner has been in the league for years without generating significant interest or revenue growth. Clark, on the other hand, has played professionally just over a year and has already transformed the landscape of women's basketball. Yet somehow, Griner feels entitled to tear down the player who has done more for the sport than she ever has. The Patrick Bet-David crew also pointed out the international embarrassment here. Griner was freed in a high-profile prisoner exchange with Russia, yet she's using her freedom to make racist attacks on her own teammate. It's not just ungrateful, it's a slap in the face to everyone who worked for her release. Vincent Oshana and the PBD team spoke the truth millions of Americans were thinking, but afraid to say publicly. Brittney Griner's racist attack on Caitlin Clark was disgusting and inexcusable. The WNBA's silence reveals their true priorities. They care more about preserving their woke image than protecting their most valuable asset. That's exactly why they'll keep losing money and driving away the fans they desperately need. Vincent Oshana and the Patrick Bet-David team demolished Brittney Griner and exposed the WNBA's racist double standards for all to see. This takedown was long overdue and absolutely necessary. What's your reaction to the PBD crew finally saying what everyone was thinking? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button, and subscribe for more truth-telling content.
डाल दिए सीरियली टोपी डाल कटाई चाहिए पहाड़ है।